Hello everyone and welcome to the second video I've put on this channel of this type. This is a video hopefully that will teach you how to patch in MA3. So first quick little introduction if you haven't seen my previous video. This is the second video I've made of this type on this channel. This is a bit of a sort of an info dump kind of channel where anytime I get asked a question, I'm going to try and make a video on it if I think it would be interesting. If you do have a question, please put it in the comments. It gives me an idea of what to make next. There's no plans, no schedule. That's kind of the idea of this, is just to be fluid. So, introductions. So my name is Charlie. I'm a freelance lighting designer, lighting programmer and lighting technician. And I know a lot of people in a lot of different disciplines in events and theatre, and I do get asked a lot of questions, some out of blatant and obvious curiosity and some out of genuine sort of need to know. So I thought, you know, those questions as they pop up, maybe I'll pop them on this channel. These aren't edited videos at all. I'm literally just screen grabbing, recording my voice and then putting that on YouTube, so you're seeing this in real time as it's happening. So there's no editing, there's no nothing. It's just me answering questions, and it just means I can feed these videos out as soon as I can. However, if you have any questions in any of these three fields, whether that be lighting design, lighting technology, or lighting programming, please put it in the comments and I will make a video on it. I don't need to do a screen grab style video like this. I can get the camera and film, you know, a moving light, or and talk about how to maintain those and how to look after those and how to fix issues, or perhaps a video talking about lighting design disciplines and techniques used in lighting design, both in theatre and events. In this video though, we're going to be talking about patching, and more specifically patching in MA3. So I have on my screen just a show file that was previously up and running in MA on my computer. I have two monitors set up. I have this one, which is currently displaying the 3D visualizer, and then screen one, which is this one here, which is in fact touchscreen. So this is my sort of like theory testing show file, if you like. It's sort of, I can mess around with things. It's not really that important. Anytime I do press anything on the touchscreen, a white circle will highlight where I've tapped, and hopefully you'll be able to see those now. And today we're going to talk about patching, the differences between patching if you come from an EOS background, or a theatrical background more specifically, and how to navigate a patch schedule in a more, you know, event style console such as MA. MA does crop up in theatre though, and it does have its place, especially in musicals. So it is something that is an interesting and useful tool to have. So first of all, I'm just going to completely blank everything out, if that makes sense. What I'm going to do is start from scratch and start a new show file, so that if you're in a pickle, or if someone just says, does anyone know how to patch on MA, you can put your hand up and say yes. It's worth me noting, of course, we're using MA3 here. Saying that, it's pretty self-explanatory. If you can patch on MA3, you can probably patch on MA2. The differences aren't that dissimilar, and it's pretty self-explanatory on the MA2, to be honest. So if you've got the foundations here, you'd probably be able to get on an MA2 and say, yes, the one thing I know what I can do is patch a couple of fixtures in and get those up and into the desk. So let's do that. First of all, like I said, I am going to do something you wouldn't need to do, which is just start a new show file, so that we know where we are and you know that this is completely as expected. So if you have a blank show file in MA3, you end up with blank space, and you end up, well, you get blank space in MA2 as well, and it looks like this. You just get some dotted lines. We're not going to go over how to build a show file in today's video. We're just going to more look at patching and how that works, so that if there is a show file that already exists and you've been asked to patch in some fixtures that are, I don't know, maybe for example there's a desk that's come in, maybe an MA, and there's nobody around to patch anything in that needs to be patched in, maybe some house fixtures or whatever, you'll be able to jump on there and do it. So the first thing you need to do is find the menu button. Now, there are two ways of getting into the menu in MA3. You can press the physical menu button on your console, or you can press the cog, which is highlighted with my mouse just right now. We should be on the right monitor. We are. So this cog here also enters the menu screen as well. If you're using on PC and have shortcuts enabled, which is here, you'll know that you've got shortcuts enabled because it will be lit yellow. You can press F12 and that will do exactly the same thing. So just going to go over that. If you are, wrong one, there we go, looking at a real console or a command wing, you're looking for the menu button, and according to this it'll be somewhere over on the right. Anyway, you want to press that and you'll be going into the menu. So hit menu and we get the menu screen. It is worth me saying it says menu patch in the top of the window there. That is because my show file is called patch. If your show file was called ABBA the Musical or whatever, it would say ABBA the Musical. It would just, whatever show file you have will populate in those brackets. From the menu screen are all the sort of setup functions that you'd normally want to find. In a lot of consoles, the button that you want to press to get to what MA3 refers to as menu is set up. So, random example, very random example, the 088 Orb. Not particularly fond of that desk at all, but that has a setup button, and that pretty much takes you into the same set of functions. It's pretty much the same thing. Menu, setup, same difference. Anyway, one thing you will notice if you come from a strong theatrical background, and more specifically EOS, is there are in fact two patches that rather than one patch option. So we're going to just very quickly explain that. Patch is opening the patch schedule, and everything you change does not affect what is happening on the stage in real time. So you can mess things around, you could make a mistake, then realise you've made the mistake and fix it. It isn't until you close the patch and press save that the changes are made live. The second option here, live patch, that is self-explanatory. Every single change that you make one-to-one, every single adjustment happens live and happens on stage without any real delay, without any real notification. It just sort of happens. So you can understand that the patch option offers a wide array of flexibility, and also gets rid of any possibility of making an error, or minimises that. One thing to bear in mind is some of the functions available in patch are in fact limited or not available in live patch. Bear that in mind. From scratch, go into patch and start. You can start things over. So when your show file is blank, you will immediately be presented with this. If there is something populated in your patch, you will be presented with the patch table first, and we're going to talk about those two differences. First of all, though, we're going to talk about starting from scratch. So if your show file has absolutely no fixtures patched in at all, you will be immediately presented with the insert new fixtures display, which is what we're seeing on the screen right now. And if you're curious, I can hop over to screen 2 nothing changes on that. We're just on the dominant screen. We get the menu there. So just going to quickly go over all of the things on here so you understand the what we're looking at here. So we have a search bar. I don't think I need to explain what that does. We have show and we have library. This is something that depending on what brand and what models of console, they all have their own various versions of this. But if you're unfamiliar, if I press show, it's currently blank. Basically, what show means is any fixtures that are currently patched into the show file will be displayed here. And in library, we get all of the manufacturers, all of the fixtures and the modes of those fixtures, so that you can choose and patch from that point on. One thing you may want to turn on, it's something I find a little bit, one thing I find useful, especially if you're using a visualizer, is bottom left, you'll see a button that you can toggle on, and it's called description. If I press that, oh, there we go, we get a description of the fixture profile, the name, things like the size, the version, the source, the creator, so the person that made it and the uploader. On top of that, there is also a 5-star rating, and that is something that you may want to keep an eye on if you've got two fixture profiles of exactly the same type and you're wondering, okay, well, what's the difference? What I mean by this is one of them may be the original, and another one that's been uploaded a little bit later on may say in the description, this is a revision that works better in the visualizer, or this is a revision just to fix the issue with the prism. Just something you may wish to bear in mind, and have on potentially. It's up to you. Bearing in mind, you can see up here we have the buttons here to select what versions, or rather what categories of fixture profile you view. If it is lit yellow, it's on. If it's grey, it's off. Very obvious. The world view there, you do need to be connected to the internet for that, so you can be from that one. MA1s, and then the sort of created versions as well. Also, you may get ones with a little factory, which means the manufacturer made that revision. You've also got the drive button here, which just shows up the drive that we're currently looking at. Bearing in mind, though, this is stuff you don't necessarily need to mess with. You may want to turn on this. It just depends on what you're looking at, really. Anyway, unimportant. We're just going to patch some fixtures in. That's what this video is about, and let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go into my search, and I'm going to look for a fixture. I know I have 10 Verilight VL1600s in my rig. They don't exist in this console yet, and I need them in. Okay, cool. The console isn't connected to the internet. That's something to bear in mind. It doesn't need to be, but if it is, we get a little green globe over here on. If I just hop over on my second screen, just to explain that. If it is connected to the internet, this little globe will go green. But when we, console regularly may not be. So anyway, apologies on rambling there. We're going to search for VL16, 123. 1600, that's what I meant. And the one good thing about this is it will update in real time. So as you can see, as I put in each character, the manufacturer list gets smaller. We can see Verilight and ADJ displaying there. And as I begin to finish it out, it funnels things down very, very quickly. Brilliant. And as you can see, we have fixture, VL 1600 profile, modes, 16-bit mode, and 16-bit extended or enhanced. And you can see at the bottom, our description is populated with information outlining where it came from. If I switch on a pretty little globe here, you can see we now have another one that has come up, and we can press that. It's come up with exactly the same modes. But you can see it's got a little factory there. and that you'll notice correlates with the creator. The creator is Verilight, factory indicating that it was the uploader was the manufacturer, which is indeed something very, very cool. And that's something we've got from Tinternet. So I can, if I turn that off, you know, that wouldn't be there. Of course, you may be thinking, well, our consoles aren't always connected to the internet, so why would you want that? Well, it opens up a lot of opportunities to show to fixture profiles that have been made to fix issues, and of course, show files are made on computers at home, and this just means that you've got these options available to you. Anyway, if you're on a console in a venue, that option is likely switched off, which we have right now. We've searched for VL1600. We've got manufacturer Verilight already funneled out for us. I didn't need to press that. Fixture, it's automatically detected which one I'm looking for. The only thing it wants to know now is the mode. Again, this is something that, you know, if you're watching this video, you should be aware of and what it means. If your DMX theory isn't as strong as you'd like, you may be possibly a little bit bewildered by footprint, because it's just a phrase that is used here and there. DMX footprint is just another way of saying this is how many addresses or how many parameters this fixture takes up or populates. In this case, in 16-bit mode, we take up 40 addresses or parameters, and in the enhanced mode, we take up 45. So I'm going to go with enhanced. And we can then hit enter or hit the select button on the bottom right. We get another screen here, which is going to ask us all the information the desk wants to know from us. So first of all, name. We need to give the fixture a name for the console. Now, you can do this in two ways. You can, in fact, type it in. You can press on the little keyboard there and type it in on the screen, or you can use your keyboard in the real world. Or it will come up with commonly used suggestions, or it will generate some commonly used suggestions. As you can see, we've got Verilight, VL1600 Profile, VL1600 Proof, 1, and etc, etc, etc. This is a very useful tool in my mind, and if you're not familiar with programming techniques, this is just something that just very, very quickly allows you to, instead of sitting around going, oh, well, what's the best way of typing this out? How would I want it organized? And, you know, thinking about it, it sounds it sounds like a stupid thing to say, but it does save you time, and it does allow you to think about the more important things rather than labeling. Saying that, how it is labelled is important, and these suggestions are always pretty good in my opinion. So in this instance, I am just going to use the suggestion that says VL1600 Profile. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. The good thing about this is this will constantly update the suggestions as your patch updates. So for example, if I then add another set of VL1600s, I may get suggestions on the right here that say VL1600 Profile 2. So what you could do is organize your fixtures by truss or by area or whatever. You know, the console is very, very good, especially MA3 in my experience, very, very good at helping the programmer organize their patch. And I've got some techniques that are not available on other consoles that are available on MA3 that I indeed find very, very useful indeed. And I'm going to show you those in just a second. So I'm going to press on my favorite suggestion. I press that there, and as you can see, the name has been populated, and I can press please either on my desk or on the screen. Then we have quantity, self-explanatory question. How many of the buggers are there? I'm going to go with 10, and I'm going to hit enter. And we now ask for the FID. If you use other consoles, this may sound like a strange term. It just means fixture ID. That's it. Or in the same sense, for example, if you come from EOS, channel, yeah, it's the user ID, the number that the programmer uses to call up the fixture. Of course, we have 10 of them. We don't just have the one of them. What you're looking for is to type in a number that it will then start sequentially labeling them from there on in. I.e., if I labeled this 101, the second one it would label as 102, and so on. again, we get some fantastic suggestions that you find in industry standards as an industry standard technique, and it's something I always use no matter where I am. I go from my first digit as being the fixture itself, and then the number on the end of there tells me which one it is. For example, 10101 onwards are my VL 1600s, and then if I had some, I don't know, pick another fixture. Can't think of a good one. I don't know. Let's say we had some Vipers, and I then decided to give those a fixture ID of 201 onwards. It just means that I know in my head very, very quickly and easily, all of my VLs are 101 onwards, and all of my Vipers are 201 onwards. Very, very common technique. Very, very easy, very, very simple to use, and it just means that if you've got more than 100 in a set, you can use a 4-digit set or a 5-digit set, etc. And as you can see, those all have come up as a suggestion there. In this case, I can just press 101. Again, you're more than welcome to type in a number completely custom that you want. So I'm going to press 101 and hit please. Then we go into patch. Patch, again, this is something that's universal across the board. This is obviously where you're going to give your fixtures the address and tell the desk the address in the universe that they are on. In MA, it's organised by a decimal. In EOS, it's organised by a slash, and of course, depending on what family of consoles and what consoles you're using, this may differ. But ultimately, 1 dot implies universe 1, and then we have the 3 digits which represent the DMX address. So, for example, I could type in 1.050, which tells the desk we're on universe 1 and we're starting at address 50 onwards. But equally, I don't see the real logic of doing that. So I could clear that out, and I could, press on the screen or type it in manually where I want things over. You get a nice schedule as well. It's very nicely organised schedule outlining everything in a very neat and tidy way, which I do like. I do apologise, my touchscreen's being a bit misbehaving today. Yeah, it is misbehaving a bit, sorry. Oh well, either way. The other thing you'll be able to set is the patch offset. The patch offset is something you may very rarely use, or may in a bizarre setting find yourself using quite a lot, just depends. If it's set to 1, it's patched as you'd expect. If the last address is, I don't know, 57 or whatever, the next one along will be patched at 58 and so on. It's basically to set the gap. If you need to set a gap for whatever arbitrary reason, you can do that. But in this case, we're not going to be doing that, and we can just give ourselves a patch of address 1 at universe 1 as you'd expect, and press please. All of this is now populated. As you can see, it all goes green to say, yep, the desk is happy, and I can now press please or hit the create button on the bottom right. And there they are. How fabulous is that? As you can see now, in our patch schedule, we have fixture ID 101 through 110 as Verilight VL 1600 profiles all patched in, and as you can see, as well as the fixture ID, as we saw before, the patch here has also been populated automatically. Remember, the only one we bothered with was giving it 101 and telling it that address 1.001 is the case, and much like EOS, it automatically populates the preceding columns, the preceding rows, rather. That's what I mean. So that's very, very helpful indeed. You will notice that this is also where we can do things like the pan inversion, tilt inversion for the DMX, that is, and then of course encoder wise we can do the same. So that kind of stuff is found here. The other thing as well is we're going to talk about tidying this up and neatening this up, because as I start to add loads and loads of fixtures, this becomes very, very messy and very, very annoying to read. I'm going to show you how you can eliminate that, or rather make that a lot easier. But to do that, I'm going to come up with a very weird situation that just means that it's very difficult to read. And I'm going to show you that here. So I'm going to add a new fixture. I'm going to show you how to patch more fixtures if there's already fixtures patched in first. And then I'm going to show you how to organize those in such a way that it will just make your life easier. So, as I said, we have 10 fixtures in the desk ready to go. Let's say, for example, you've already got fixtures patched in and someone says, look, does anyone know how to patch stuff into the desk? You can go, yes, I do. So what you need to do is go into the patch using the menu function as we did before to get here. So I'm going to show you how to do that. First of all, though, let's save this. We've got this in the patch schedule, but it hasn't actually been saved. And the way we need to do that, very easy way you can do that. In the top right, you'll see a grey X. We can press that, and it'll come up with a little menu that just says, do you want to save this or not? If you press discard, it will close the patch and scrap everything that you've just done. If you press stay in patch, it's pretty obvious. It keeps you in patch and you can carry on. And then if I press save and exit, all our patch is now saved, and we're now back in the desk ready to work. And if I go into my fixture view, you can see there they are. There they are, ready to go. There's our 10 1600s. Fantastic. Now, how do we patch new fixtures in? As I said, the first thing we're going to do before we start doing the organising, how do we patch in fixtures into a show file that already has stuff patched in? And oh, would you look at that? We have 10 fixtures already patched. We're going to go back into menu. We can go back into patch, back where we were. And as you can see our patch schedule. There we are. We're going to press new fixture on the schedule there. And as you can see, we've got a button that's just lit up on the bottom left. Insert new fixture. If I click on that, we now get presented with the insert new fixture display again, and we're now in show display. As you can see, we're only displaying the stuff that actually is in show, just in case you want to very quickly copy over something that you've already patched in. But we're going to go back into library. So I'm going to press library and we're in. So I'm going to pick something that I can have loads of in the rig. So let's go. Let's pick something very. What do I want? I don't know. Let's go with the rush. Yeah, let's go with that. The rush baton. Why not? It's the first thing that's just come up. Oh, its DMX footprint is unknown. Let's go with rush. Rush. I can't type today. Sorry about that. Rush par. There we are. Let's go with the rush par. That sounds like a good idea. So we got. There's a nice one. The rush par RGBW zoom. I do like those fixtures. They are funky. So, again, we have a 5-channel mode, we have a 9-channel mode, and we can see the DMX footprint there, 5 and 9. I'm going to go with the 9 footprint there. I'm going to very quickly show you how I can quickly put those in. Brilliant. Okay, name, what do I want? I'm going to call it, give it its full name, why not? Press please. How many of them? Now, I'm going to give them loads in this case so that I can show you how to organise it and make it easy to patch in. 100 of them. And fixture ID. I'm going to start off at 201 and hit please. And let's say, I mean, in this case, the address doesn't really matter because we're not in the real world. But let's just say we're going to start off at Universe 2, which I seem to have gone over into. That's very annoying. Let's go. This is the good thing. It's got a nice big red thing that's just gone. You can't do that. Let's go with, I don't know. Universe 5? Yeah, Universe 5. I don't know, for whatever reason, let's keep it random, doesn't really matter, and hit create. There we go. I just need to shove in a load of fixtures, and you can see we've got loads of fixtures populated. So let's say, for argument's sake, Universe 5 and 6 is on some kind of DMX gateway, and that's why we've got these operating on two separate universes so close together. If you want to scroll on the touchscreen on MA3, you have to use 2 fingers and drag up and down in that way. Otherwise, it just sort of does this if you use 1 finger. You can use the scroll on the side, but 2 fingers, no matter where you are, and it will scroll. So you can now understand how things might get a bit annoying, because if I start adding loads and loads of fixture types, we're going to end up with a really long list of stuff, especially if I then go ahead and I go new fixture, and say, for example, I add in a generic dimmer. If I go into a theatre, a generic dimmer, for example, and I ask, how many channels have you got on your dimmer? And they say, oh, we got 120 in-house. Okay, that's 120 that I need to put in. I don't know, let's start off at 501. Again, this is very unorganized, I'm aware of that. And I say, okay, well, let's say again, it doesn't really matter. We've not got a venue or anything in this case, so let's go Universe 11. Why not? Let's say that we've got a gateway outputting Universe 11, and I've plugged in the house dimmers into that. And I hit please, and there we go. So there we go. You can see now how things would be quickly get very annoying to find what you're looking for, and things get, very, very untidy, especially if I just save what we're using here and I go into what we are looking at in the real world. You can understand, if I was looking for something, if I couldn't remember the number, it would get very annoying. I'd have to scroll, and it'd just be really, arbitrary and really, really annoying, to say the least. So how can I organize this in a way that would just mean everything is kept so tidy, and it would mean I can limit the time I waste looking for things? Now, this is a technique that is gonna sort of, I think, separates the people from who can patch on MA3 and those who can patch on MA3, and it just with a little bit of glitter on top gives it a little bit of pizzazz, makes it very, very neat and tidy, and definitely helps you in a programming sense. So in menu, in your patch, now we have all our fixtures, and it's very, very annoying because, like I said, we've got 3 fixture types here. We've got our house dimmers for all of the circuits in the rig, say for in a theatre or whatever on tour. We've got something like 100 rush pars for some weird reason, but 100 rush pars, and we've got 10 VL 1600s. There's quite a bit going on here already, and whatever, we could be adding more. How do we organise this? Well, there is a fantastic way you can organise things in MA3, so I'm going to show you that now. If you press new fixture, insert new fixture, and this is the bizarre bit, I'm not actually adding a new fixture, and I search for a grouping, and it's in the generic manufacturer grouping, and its default, you can see it doesn't have a DMX footprint. DMX footprint is 0. What is this? What does this mean? Well, this is not a group as you would know it in, the live desk operation sense. This is a group that is used to organize your patch, and it's very, very cool. As you can see, the DMX footprint is left at 0. Now, what I'm going to call this is I'm going to call it VL 1600, and I'm going to give it quantity of 1, and I'm going to give it a fixture ID. This is what really sets these things apart, and I'm going to give it a fixture ID of, I don't know, let's go 1. And hit please. Then I hit enter on that there, and we've got, as you can see, this little thing that's just popped up at the bottom there, VL1600 grouping, and that's it. And if I open that up, it's empty. There's nothing in there. What does that mean? Well, if I get this drop down, you'll see there's another new fixture thing. Now, what you can do is you can press the new fixture in that grouping and patch things as we've done before, but it will store it inside this this grouping, and it just means we can close this up and it's neat and tidy and it's out of the way, and it's not on show unless we want it to be. The other thing is a grouping in patch has its own fixture ID, which means in syntax we can call up live all of the fixtures at the same time, in a similar way to using a group in a normal context, but it's actually, this is set into the patch as a foundational thing. And one thing I should have done, and it's something I've done before, is, as I said before, I organise all of my fixture IDs from things like 101 onwards. What I do like to do is, in MA3, go, the grouping is 100, and then everything from 101 onwards is stored in fixture ID 100, which is the grouping. This means you can still call up individual fixtures like 104, 109, etc. But if you want to call up every single fixture that you've stored in a patch grouping, you can do that by just typing it in, because the desk treats a grouping like a fixture, a single fixture. It's very, very cool. Now, if you've already got your patch done like this, let's say that this is sorted now, and you want to start putting things in a grouping, very, very easy to do. I can draw my little square over all the fixtures that I want moved into a grouping. So I've got all of my VL1600s highlighted in blue. And then at the bottom here we have a load of magical buttons. You can see the cut option here. If I click that, that whole section illuminates red, and I can then zoom all the way down to my grouping. Of course, the grouping might be at the top, it's just because of the way I've done it here. I select the drop down. Oh, hello, sorry. Let's scroll down. I can select inside the grouping, and I can click on paste, which is just here. Click on paste, and there they are. They are now stored inside grouping 1. Of course, as I said before, I think I would have preferred to have called it grouping 100, and then everything inside grouping I know is from 101 onwards. It's just the way I like to organise things. But of course, whatever works for you as a programmer and as a user, that's what matters. Now, why is this important? Because it just means I can go click, and now I don't see my VL1600s, and that's another thing I don't have to scroll through to get to, because it's all stored in this little folder, this grouping here, and I can drop it down and I can see what I need to see, but not the things I don't need to see, or rather that's what we're going to get to. So I can add a new fixture. Again, we're now in show display, and we've already used a grouping, so I can bring that up, and I'm going to call this one house dimmers. Please, quantity 1. Don't let this slip you up. You don't need, in quantity, it's not asking you how many items you're storing in there. It's asking you how many groupings you actually want to make. In this case, I'm only making 1. And fixture ID, again, we can give it a number that makes life easy. So let's call it, I think my dimmers were 501 onwards, weren't they? Because there was something bizarre. So let's go 500 as an example of my previous thing that I was going on about. Hit please, and then create. Yeah, I was right. And there we have another grouping, all of all called house dimmers. So now what I can do is I can zoom up the patch schedule here, and yeah, 501 onwards are the house dimmers. So I'm going to scroll and draw my little square so that all the house dimmers are selected. Press cut, they go red. Go to the house dimmers grouping here, and then click paste. Meow. It's all stored in there. And now, when I close that up, all we've got are the rushes, because they're the only ones that are not in a grouping. So you can really see the benefit here. What I might do is rechange the fixture, edit this fixture ID, because it will go with what I was on about. So if you ever need to change any particular parameter on here, you can select it, right click it, and you get just a little menu option here, and you can tap it out on touchscreen, or you can use the syntax. So if I type in 100, now, as I explained, I like using the round number as the grouping. Now I know grouping 100 has everything in, so it goes grouping 100, and then everything preceding that, 101, is an actual fixture. And then in house dimmers, as you can see, that list goes on and on and on. House dimmers starts at 501 onwards, so I've called the grouping 500 because that isn't an actual fixture. And there we go. And then one last example. New fixture, grouping. We're going to call this rush. And we'll call this 200. And there we go. And then again, I can select all my rushes. There's 100 of these, isn't there? Bosh. Hit cut. Zoom down. Go into our grouping. Press paste. And that's populated in there. And now with all of the groupings closed, that's what our patch schedule actually looks like. It looks neat, it looks refined, and looks tidy. And you could organise your groupings by truss, by area, by section, or whatever you use, or what term or phrase you like to use. Bar, truss, pipe, part of the set, whatever it is, or maybe even ground package and overhead and front of house, things like that. You could just, whatever works for you in the context of your show, you can use to organize your patch so that you can be more effective and more organized. And then, of course, when you want to see something, you just press on the drop down and you can view everything you need to view. Now, it doesn't stop there with the groupings, because we can close this. And now, if you look at my live fixture display, my fixture sheet, you'll notice that the groupings have been displayed here as well. So if I'm not really bothered about looking at my house dimmers, I can keep that closed, but I can look at my rushes and I can look at my movers. Equally, I can close that up, and I can close that up. So there we are. And at the same time, though, I can use I can drop them all down and just see everything as I did before. Now, there is a little function that you get as a result. There's a little arrow at the very top where all of the information, where it tells you what all the information is. If I press on that, it opens everything up at the same time, and press it again and it closes everything up at the same time. So you've got these options, these organizational tools, which are very helpful indeed. The other thing to bear in mind is we get a sort of overview. We still get all of the standard overview stuff like pan, tilt, gobo, blah 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 blah, associated to that grouping as best as the desk can do that. Anyway, that is how to patch an MA3, and I hope this is of help to you guys. Any questions do help. Do feel free to pop in the comments section, and I'll go over those. yeah, this has been a very nice video, I think, to some people. It's just a video that focuses very much on one very specific and very, very important thing when it comes to MA, and that's how to patch, and then something that maybe not everyone does know how to do, and that's how to make your patch that little bit more tidy and that little bit more fancy pants, and that's just using groupings. Of course, what I do want to stress is this is not the same as a group. That's something I find a little bit bizarre in regards to the way MA have named these. A grouping is what we've done here, where we've organised fixtures in the patch. A group is when we cluster a load of fixtures together and save that in a group that we use when we're actually programming on the desk and when we're actually using the desk. Of course, that's something you probably already know if you're watching this video, but if you want me to go over the differences and of the different types of presets and groups and etc. like that, again, feel free to pop a question in the comments section below. As I said, it doesn't have to be desk related, it doesn't have to be MA3 related, it could be EOS related. That's another console I use. I'm probably more, I am more of an EOS console user, or rather have more experience using EOS. Anyway, again, any questions that are related to lighting design or lighting technology, you can send me over and I will do my best to answer. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope this helps someone. And yeah, thank you very much. I hope to see you in a future video.